Hello and good afternoon. Yeah, I'm back going up the river today from work to home, like usual. But, it's actually a sunny day for a change, or at least decent weather, and like to have snow, a lot of the snow we've been seeing for the last couple weeks. So, as for what's going on, there's plenty of stuff. First off, last I saw, the nor'easter was supposed to be going a little bit further east, so it'll be affecting still Pennsylvania, New England, but it won't be going absolutely nuts on, like, say, central PA, not necessarily a bad thing. Poconos will still get their decent amount, as will the Catskills. Berkshires will definitely get hit. Down East Maine, well, what can I say? It's, if anything, the track will keep it all snow, even all the way up towards the shoreline, so gonna be a fun day up there. As for out here in the Midwest, we actually got a couple days of fair weather here. Towards the end of the week, we're actually going to be warm enough where we actually see, regular rain on Thursday, and then we swap over to snow for Friday and the weekend. Why not? At least we're away this week, not home for Minnesota United, but it is what it is. Overall, not too bad. I'm not going to complain. As for the Minnesota United game, it was a snow opener, and it wasn't actually snowing at the start, but it's still, the snow definitely played a factor. If you're wondering why, well, it actually snowed fairly decently from just before when I got out of work on overtime on Saturday until approximately, it was until about 40 minutes before the kickoff. It ended just before 7 o'clock, game time 7:30. Minnesota United, we did get the draw 1-1, so, it is what it is there. But, a lot of the coaches, and I know some of the coaches, especially for New York, are complaining about the field conditions. They're wondering why we couldn't get it all perfectly cleared off and everything for the match start, and why they had to start certain areas and then get the others for the second half. My meteorological opinion on it, they basically, in order to be able to hit the 7:30 start that Apple wanted, it wasn't happening because the snow ended at the wrong time. You need extra time to clear off a full regulation soccer pitch, when you have about 2 to 3 inches of snow that falls. It takes a little bit. It's not like the ground crews weren't trying, with what they had. I mean, there should have been some more people out there with the leaf blowers or shovels or whatever they could have used. But let's face it, it's one of those situations where they were damned, unless Apple would have allowed them to delay the start, which I don't know how that would have went over with the new TV deal. But, if they would have allowed the delayed start, yeah, they could have gotten that pitch regular green and everything else. But if anything, both teams had to play with the same not-so-great conditions. So, it's adjusting. It ended up a 1-1 draw. Yes, we did actually score, which is good news. And Bongi did get the goal. Yes, South Africa. South African proud Bongakule Langwani. I know it's hard to say that name. God bless the PA announcers on that one. But most of the fans here just know him as Bongi, and that works fine, we did end up giving up a goal and a set piece in the 60-some minute in the second half. But hey, Bongi went kabong, which is cool. We need him to score more because he has the talent. He has the raw talent. Now, how much he can do with it, that's as far as we'll have to see how the season goes. Because, this is now his second season in MLS. So, First one, you can figure, okay, you adjusting, he just came over from South Africa. He was all young. He's only 21 going on 22. As for the other talent we had, our defense actually looks pretty decent, which is good news. And because of that defense, we actually kept in the ball game. Yeah, the conditions helped too, but as I said, the conditions helped everybody. As for that blonde-haired guy that played for that was in the New York defense, my God, if I didn't know any better, he almost looked like that one villain from Ghostbusters 2. But it is what it is. But otherwise, it actually, I needed the night out. It was a good thing. I definitely, even after working 8 hours of overtime on a Saturday, I actually was able to do it okay. I actually got up the steps a little better than normal this year. Because, usually I do have to truck lane it going up to the upper deck where my seats are. But that being said, Sunday, the roads are definitely slick late Saturday night. I hope everybody did get home safe from the game. And Sunday, well, it was what it was. Church went. The snow on Friday actually did hinder the delivery of our church bulletin. Go figure. As for anything else that we're seeing, let's see. The banks over the weekend. Oh yes, that the three banks that decided to go on that went under. The first one was at Tech Bank, the Silicon Valley Bank. As I understand it, the depositors should be able to get all their money back, because what the problem was, it wasn't because necessarily they didn't have the capital totally backing the deposits. They actually did, or around 90% of it. Problem was, they actually had the management basically screwed up what they did. Yet they had a lot of their stuff collateralized with 10-year bonds, which you do that a couple years, about a year and a half, 2 years ago, before the Fed started raising rates. They were about 1.5%. Given what they were loaning at the time, yeah, it actually wasn't bad. Only problem, when the Fed decided to jump it up 3 percentage points within about a year, instead of like a 1.5 to 2, which I was expecting, yeah, that's sort of not only devalued the bonds a little, because when you raise interest rates in between issuances, that means the bond's value goes down a little bit. Because interest is actually a little bit of a hedge on the ability to pay. But the weirdest part was they actually had too many 10-year bonds for loans that were like 2, 3, 4 years out, and the Fed interest rate being above that, way above that. Basically, the balance sheet just ended up not working out. And the worst part of all about that is, the bank officers, just about literally a week before they went under, some of them up to a day or two before they went up, their balance sheet went belly up. Oh, they decided to sell about $4 to $4.5 million worth of stock between the CEO, COO, and the other officer that they mentioned. Not exactly a good thing to do, Even these days, that still should get you at least looked at for insider trading. That little thing where where within a certain amount of days you're not supposed to do any action on the company you're actually in for conflict of interest. And it's also basically a thing that Martha Stewart got put into the clink for. And Martha Stewart, hers was by accident. These guys, they should be going into the clink for a while, if justice were to have their way. Now, will they? I don't know. You would hope, let's hope the Justice Department actually does their job, unlike what they've done so far with Trump and stuff with January 6th, but that's a different story. As for the other couple banks, let's see, the other one in California that went, they had actually a whole bunch of exposure in cryptocurrency, which if you did any type of following in the crypto space in the last 6 months, let's just say that's definitely not looking good. A lot of places fell all over the place, and especially with the Fed raising interest rates, and let's just say you knew that was going to happen. You knew that was going to happen. The third bank that went under, that was a New York bank. It was a Signature Bank. Now, you're going to say, what was big about them? Well, one, I think they had a little bit of overexposure in some spots, like the other two. But also of significance, a couple of board of directors of Result, both parties here. One was Ivanka Trump for a year or two back, about 8 or 9 years ago. And also on the board, they used to be on the board, Barney Frank, former Democrat Banking Committee member. So I mean, hey, bank corruption goes around all over the place. Sort of why I wish that we didn't have all this conflict of interest, and I'm sure most people that actually work for a living would agree with me in saying, hey, Congress shouldn't be working for people that they regulated for at least about 10-15 years after they quit. I mean, got to get rid of the conflict of interest. Now, does that mean they can't work at all? No. I mean, if they worked at places before, like if a plumber or say a building contractor wanted to go back to building contracting after he left Congress or the Senate, fine, I have no problem with that. Farmer wants to go back doing farming, fine, As long as you weren't given a whole bunch of stock by ADM or other companies like that, fine, But when you're given all types of conflict of interest, yeah, that's a little bit of an issue. That said, though, the other part about Signature Bank, guess who was one of their big checking account holders? Oh yeah, a guy by the name of Donald Trump. He had several mil in there at least, and now apparently that was the bank where he held a whole bunch of his cash before he was president and during his presidency. That cash that was maybe used for, I don't know, covering up the fact that he was only a tiny mushroom with Stormy Daniels. Only a little stuff like that. So how that one turns out, that's going to be interesting. So what else is on the agenda this afternoon? NCAA basketball. Yes, the brackets are out. And I will plug something. Yes, I do run a no money pool that's basically, for bragging rights over on ESPN, group number 9723, Den of Chums, if you're looking it up. I don't know if I'll put that in the comment. I might put that in the description just to let you know. As for the password to get in, because you do need a password, you have to actually know me to get in. Because I don't just open it up to anybody, I mean, I want to be sure you have to at least know me a little bit. Now, if you're on Twitter, you want instant message me and get in, you actually know me. I mean, that's the thing, I have to actually know you. If I don't, you're not getting in. If I do, fine, hey, the more the merrier. As for Facebook, you're pretty much, if you're one of my friends, I gave you the info already, I did put it up. So, we'll see what happens. And why I'm saying about that? is, well, Penn State actually made it to the dance for the first time since 2011. Holy damn. And they almost got in with an automatic bid, not with an at-large. That's what surprised me. I mean, going into the Big Ten tournament, I figured we're going to win one game, maybe two, but we'd be within 2 seconds of winning the whole damn thing? My God, you know? I wasn't expecting that. I don't know if anybody else was, but I sure wasn't. I'll take it. I mean, you know, we're a 10 seed, which is, you know, given our season, I'm not too unhappy because we're in. If we would have won the whole thing, who knows? We could have gotten maybe an 7 or an 8, but I'll take a 10. And of course, our first round opponent is one that actually, according to most pundits, was undervalued, like underranked. Texas A&M. Yes, we got 2 weather schools going at it. Now, which one is better? On paper, I think Texas A&M is, but Penn State, you know, hey, we run hot in the perimeter at the right time. We can pull a lot of upsets, so, you know, hey, Nittany Lion fan, I'm hoping we get it. I really do. That game is late one on Thursday, so we'll see what happens. You know, if we do win, we end up possibly getting Texas in the second round. Of which, you know, if we do get UT, you know, I will say this, my ex-girlfriend is a fan of UT. Sorry, but, you know, Lions have to have dinner. So they might as well have Longhorn steak. After that, who knows? And believe it or not, in the Midwest bracket where Penn State is, there are actually 7 meteorological schools, 7 weather schools in that bracket. Now, I think there's a couple others in the other brackets in general, but when it comes to concentration, 7 of them. So, I mean, who knows? I mean, I do hope we do get it for the bragging rights. I mean, let's face it, we are Penn State after all. But, I mean, how it goes, we'll see. I can only hope one game at a time, because now that the big dance is here, it's simple. You know, win or done. So we'll see what happens. As for, you know, I think the Nanticoke boys are gone, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to check on that when I get home. But I know the Pittston girls are still going back in Pennsylvania. And if you're wondering why that's important, well, high school friend of mine, she has a couple daughters that are on that team. And Pittston also did, by the way, win the softball tournament this past fall. So, the fact that they're now in the big PIAA tournament back in PA, great. What's going to be even bonus is that they're going to be playing in Martell, which, if you know anything about Eastern Pennsylvania basketball, that's one of the biggest arenas you play, down by Allentown. You know, I mean, that is, you play there, you're in the big time. That's just a given. And I'll tell you how that's even significant for my friend from high school. When she was in high school, she was part of the the team that won the state title for Nanticoke back in 1990. And of course, they made a couple stops in, you guessed it, Martell. So, I mean, let's hope it's like a mother like daughter over there. We can only hope, but, you know, as with the NCAA, PIAA tournament, winning, you know, this time of the year, win or you're gone. So, hopefully they all win. As for anything else, let's see. Later this week, I gotta finally do my taxes. Yeah, I know I should have done them earlier, but, you know, it is what it is. I usually end up, usually end up with like a small federal refund and break even with the state. So as long as I do that, I'm happy. Anything else is a bonus. And also get my renter's refund check, which in Minnesota, it's basically the same as a homeowner. Like a homeowner, if you make under a certain amount, you get a property tax refund. I mean, it's in Pennsylvania, it's usually only for seniors, but here in Minnesota, it's for everybody. So for the renter's refund, I'm as long as I can get something, I'll usually get something back from the state at most years. So I mean, hey, get me a couple backs from that. That'll be coming in early summer or late summer, because they have to wait for that after your taxes. Hey, it is what it is. It is, that's one of the things about the state of Minnesota. I mean, yeah, we have a decent sales tax, and the income tax is a little higher than PA, but believe it or not, for the most part, you get what you pay for out here. I mean, healthcare is better. I mean, regions, we're coming up on my right here, Regions Hospital. That's where I got my gallbladder yanked out. Good docs there. You also have the U of M over in Minneapolis, which is really good care. North Memorial is no slouch over in the Northwest Metro. And also, about 75 minutes to southeast of me. I mean, you saw Highway 52 turn off earlier, or you might have. Takes Highway 52 about 75 minutes southeast to St. Paul, and you are pretty much heading your way to the Mayo Clinic. I mean, when you're talking healthcare, you want to talk to some of the best in the world. You gotta not hold the Mayo. That's the Mayo you do want. So I mean, it is what it is. I mean, in distance, I know I'm usually going through downtown here, but, it's the way the cookie crumbles. I mean, you got a transportation building on the right, downtown to the left, and straight ahead, the place where they used to hold crashed ice. That was before Red Bull decided to not have it anymore. They're not having it anywhere in the world. It used to be over here we used to be one of the stops at St. Paul over Cathedral Hill. One of the toughest stops as well. I mean, racers used to say this was almost like masochist compared to the others. It's like, okay, But it was also a fun time, and it was right here. So it is what it is. But as for the roads, well, usually they're a lot better out here. And for a lot of spaces it still is, but unfortunately, given the milder winter we've had, and the increased freeze-thaw cycles, as well as now the 8th snowiest winter at 80 inches, 81 inches according to MSP, we're actually some stretches of city streets, especially I will say Robert Street. Excuse me. Like say Robert Street in between the hospital and Empire Street. That's like Empire Street and Phelan Boulevard. Unfortunately, that's now turned into worse than Pennsylvania standard, which I know that doesn't, it's like, I know people in Minnesota or Wisconsin, it's like, how's that? I've never been to Pennsylvania. How bad is it? Trust me. PA is the bottom of the barrel when it comes to roads at the end of the winter. To get close to that is a dishonor you do not want to have. And unfortunately, in St. Paul, we have a couple stretches that are like that. And also Minneapolis, there are some that are that way too, which is not good. But they're going to get them fixed eventually. I mean, hopefully in April, they'll start working on them real fast. And if I was bluntly honest, they need to redo Jackson all the way up from the hospital all the way up to Phelan as a complete rebuild, because that thing's been not so great for years. But now, I wouldn't even take a fire engine or an ambulance over there. It's that bad. for emergency vehicle. So I mean, if it's that bad, I mean, worse. If it's worse than Pennsylvania standard, that's trouble. But at least for the city here, I mean, for this part of the city, it's not too bad. I mean, we're going through Frogtown right now. Still sunny. We got about 37 degrees on the car thermometer. And overall, I mean, hey, for a mid-March Minnesota day, not bad at all. I will definitely take it. Now, if only the lady didn't jaywalk there, but it is what it is. That's one thing you have to worry about in a city is, in a big city is the old jaywalking problem. It just happens. It's one of those laws that's out there, but nobody ever enforces it. But as we get up on Rice Street here, I mean, and also this coming up Sunday, like Saturday and Sunday, my ward is Ward 5 is Sunday. We'll be approaching my ward shortly, but it's pretty much this year's like city and municipal type of elections. So the city caucuses are going to be around, and not for the mayor this time though. It's going to be for city council, and we do our current city councilor, as I understand it, Amy Brindamone. Last I knew, she was leaning towards not running again. So, take that for what it's worth. She's actually not a bad lady. I've met her a couple times. At least we're getting, now if we can only get like the FiOS cable to my apartment building, that would, FiOS internet, that would be nice. One thing at a time. But we're hoping for the best. I mean, there's at least one person going for the position. Last I knew. I'll be probably meeting her this weekend because, and one thing about caucuses, this would be similar to the Iowa caucuses, except this is like the precinct level first, and then at the end of April, pick your delegates basically at the precinct level, and then in April we have the full have the full ward, which is Ward 5 in my case. That in 5th Ward is pretty much the North End, Lake Como, and then over towards a good Payne-Phalen area, which is by Lake Phalen. We're not quite all the way over to the East End, but pretty close. I mean, it's basically one of 7 wards in the city of 350,000. And oh shit, having to take some time here with the potholes. I mean, this is starting to get, as I said, even Rice Street here is starting to get pretty bad. I hope Mayor Carter can and Amy could get the public works out to the streets and get shit fixed, because it's starting to get bad here. As I said, you're looking at Pennsylvania almost now with some of these potholes. So you're getting towards that, you're in trouble. But at least, that's at least on Sunday. Saturday, we're going to have, Minnesota United plays away, so we don't have to worry about any weather concerns there. And from there, we'll see what happens. I mean, it's one step at a time. At least overall, things aren't looking too bad. And, life goes on. One last thing, though, I will say about the NCAA brackets as we make the final turn towards home. At least my home on the prairie. I I will have 2 brackets up in my little pool that I mentioned earlier. And actually, if you're one of my friends, you can have up to 4. Reason why, because I had friends several years ago say their kids wanted in, or something else, or even had a friend who basically used the second entry to do a little basically make a generic artificial intelligence type bot to try to predict the games. Yeah, and yes, it is the robot overlord that is the reigning champion on that. But if you're a friend, if you know how to do the AI stuff, you can take, you can use one of your 4 for that. Just the only thing I ask is that you label it so that it can be kept in the robot division. So, other than that, we're just about home here. Let's park against the building, the other building, and have a good afternoon or a good evening when you're watching this. Have a good day. Bye.